still an odd color choice.
It is. So anyway, just to wrap my point up, it's just I'm just kind of meh about it. You know, I still maybe if I write it and I see that scene 1 as Rachel was mentioning in the queue, that'll help set up the story. Maybe it'll convince it it's a little better than that. But I'm gonna stick with just a meh feeling.
Yeah. Man's a step up for you right now.
Is it?
With the way you've been
really passionate about some of the things that are wrong. So he's right. That is a step up.
Man's like a couple of rugs up.
I'll take that. I'll take that.
There you go. I mean,
you know, it's and for you that listen to the show and you're like, oh, here's another show that's just gonna bash it. It's like, look, you can choose a good all you want, but you never know how to define a good if you don't know what a bad is.
Right.
And vice versa. I don't know what bad is unless I know what a good is.
Mm-hmm. And you can not have a comparison when you have a ride that is basically a reskinned version of a ride that existed prior to that.
Yes.
So that begs the comparison right then and there. Which one was better? And whose mind isn't going to go that way?
Yeah, this is true. And I mean, I'm happy to have that ride system back online.
Sure, 100%. Same. Yeah.
But as we'll get into in a little bit, the story, I don't know. We're going to talk about it.
Yeah. Well, let's start.
Yeah, let's get into it. Where do you want to start with?
I would like to start with addressing something that you said earlier, which I could not agree more. Yes.
Okay.
The clear strength of this attraction over Splash Mountain, the clear advantage it always had over it, it was always going to have over it, is the technology. It's unquestionable that the animatronics are impressive. The movement is so fluid. The range of motion is just incredible. But while the newer attractions may be 1,000 times more technically advanced, the show scenes, as you put it, kind of felt lifeless to me as I was watching it. It was like these characters, these animatronics were placed at random points along the ride, and there's nothing visually engaging or appealing about what they're doing. Whereas when you think of the older animatronics, you're going to think of Brer Bear's big butt being caught in that rope trap, or with the beehive on his nose, or Brer Gator chewing on Brer Fox's tail, trying to escape through the briar patch.
Or the frog chilling, fishing, doing the
Every scene felt impactful. It managed to convey way more emotion with way less movement through the use of humor and storytelling. And because of that, those scenes to me and those animatronics to me almost work better than these animatronics, which are clearly better. But those animatronics, as soon as you saw them, you started laughing. Like immediately you were engaged. You weren't like, yeah, that's cool, but he's not moving and only his arms would flail out. No, and that seems to be what these newer animatronics do. They look great, and the mouth movement and the main range of motion is fluid, but they're just standing there waving their arms around as they're talking. They're not really engaged in doing anything that's memorable, humorous. So the one strength it has over it, it almost loses it because they really don't make the most of those animatronics.
Yeah, now that you say that, I'm thinking, man, I would love to have like a Tiana chopping vegetable sequence or something. Because, you know, in the movie, she was like, she schooled Naveen. It's like, here you do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like Yan Can Cook, kind of.
Yeah, can cook. The Iron Chef.
Yeah, it's like the equivalent of going on a date with a model who looks wise is a 10. But there's no personality, there's no charm, there's no humor. And you'd rather be with somebody less physically attractive, but more emotionally engaging, somebody who's going to bring joy out of you, right? Then something like, man, that's a 10 right there, but there's no substance.
And that's the thing, and I think that last part is really a key right there, because yes, I agree. As a good visually, there's parts of that video that's like, wow, that's nice. Like again, I think the Firefly sequence, right? This is what I would call it. It had like this Finding Nemo. As you go through it, you see the sequence because it's like Tiana, she's there, and the fireflies and all this other stuff. Like, okay, that's new. You're not gonna see that often. It also had that Navi River journey feel.
Yes,
it did. Yeah,
right. Very much so.
You're tripping out a lot. There's mushrooms for you to chew on right there, and you're looking. The lights are blinking and everything like that. So yes, it had enough that even looking at the video, it had my attention visually, and I think the animatronics were great.
Yes,
absolutely. No argument about that. I was more impressed by the way they animated Louie, almost more so than Tiana. Not that Tiana was bad. It's just like to make an alligator do all of that stuff is like,
the belly movement that goes with it. Yeah.
Oh, technically that's pretty sound. But yes, if you do take it a step above that visual, none of those pieces are cohesive. Mm-hmm. If you take like Splash Mountain, each time you went down a layer before you, or up a layer, if you will, that you're going to be dropped. If you remember you knew it was going to get scary because they would start playing like, you know,
The music
creepier
change,
the light
the
would
colors
change.
change,
Yeah,
yeah.
everything looked sinister. You're like, I'm not ready for this. And this didn't really give me that same thing. It was almost, while it looked awesome, everything looked disjointed. Like you guys were saying, are we an ingredient? Are we on an adventure? I didn't even know. I just was like, okay, I'm not a vegan. None of this appeals to me. It's all vegetables.
You didn't like the dancing okra plants that were in the front?
I mean, like I was waiting for someone to chase a chicken or something and then like throw that into the stew, because I don't know outside of vegetable soup what we make here that has no meat in it that I eat. But that's just a peculiar thing on my own thing. I also liked visually the Pepto-Bismol bottle. That was
Pepto-Bismol bottle.
Yeah, there's a big bottle in there.
When they shrink you down to the size of a frog.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Mama already does a
There's
thing.
a purple thing in there. You didn't see the purple?
No, I missed out
It
on
took
that.
me a while to figure out what had just happened as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't get that. I was going to bring that up. Was that the part of the ride that completely lost me was the shrinking you down part. Like, I'm hoping that when I ride it, it makes a little bit more sense. But, well, first of all, I didn't really realize I had been shrunk down. I was just like, oh, why is everything big now? And she tells you that she's making you big again so you can go to the party. And I was like, oh, we were small. I missed that.
Yes. That's what I thought the
You're not
Pepto
alone.
was for, to make everything go down easier as you accepted this terrible story.
I was a little confused. So I'm hoping that when I ride it, it'll make more sense. You know, on video, a lot of stuff gets lost. So
Yeah, it does.
but that was the one part of the ride that I was like, whoa, you really lost me there. And I was trying.
Yes.
I didn't like that Eli brought up the whole idea with the screens and everything before. I like the idea of the screens when it's background.
Yeah,
With the
same here.
fireflies.
Yeah.
But when they start using the screens, and they really used it in that scene that we were just discussing, where now you're seeing the characters all up and they're like looking down, and they're fully animated versions of Mama Odie up top, like, hey, I need to make you big again so you can make a big splash. Like, I was like, why did all this have to be done with animation? Like, why could not? This is where you need animatronics. This is where a good animatronic.
Also,
Yeah.
Oh,
I also
absolutely.
didn't understand why we had to be small.
I think because they just want to do a scene where you shrunk down to the size of a frog, and they needed something to do with that laughing place area. They didn't know what to
Okay.
do with it.
I was just like, why am I small? I don't get that.
Yeah,
Okay.
I didn't get it either, but and I watched it a couple of times and I realized Lewis was trying to dive in there. It's like, and he's stuck. It doesn't really convey him. I'm like, oh, okay, so Oda made us small enough so we can get through, and Lewis can't.
We're frogs.
Yeah, we're itty bitty frogs, but it was never really explained thoroughly in the story why we did that.
And
Yeah.
like you said, maybe once you take the ride, it's different. But
I
yeah.
believe there was a band in there that was like a Firefly band or something like that. There's an
they're
itty bitty
playing,
band.
like Latino music, kind of
something
stuff.
like that.
It's like it's
think-
like salsa music.
Like salt.
Which I
Okay,
like. Actually, I like
missed
that version of that song as a salsa, which kind of kicks. But
my
it
goodness.
wasn't quite easily conveyed. I mean, let's think about it here. In Toy Story Mania, when you're walking through the queue, you do get shrunk to the size of a toy, and you end up in Andy's bedroom. It's just a hallway. that
Yeah, but
you
it's
get
a
shrunk.
gradual thing, and you start to realize it as you go. This is very sudden.
It's abrupt.